Hey guys, so what I'm going to show you today is a little more of a technical thing. It's how I prepped for a picture I was going to paint. I wanted to paint this lighthouse scene. This is actually from my hometown, and I wanted to place a pelican in the foreground so that it was up close, and then the background was this lighthouse area. But I need to see the picture ahead of time. So I took it into Photoshop to make this work. And so here I've got the picture of the pelican, and I pulled the pelican off of Pixabay. I want this front pelican to go in the front of the picture, and I want the lighthouse in the back. So I'm going to be using Photoshop Elements today. That's like the cheaper and easier version of Photoshop, so you don't have to spend quite as much money. And I go ahead and pull up Photoshop, and the first thing I'm going to do is open a new file, and I need to make sure this file is the size that I want to paint the picture in eventually. So I set the parameters, I name it, and then I'm going to set it to the size I want it to be. And I actually did it wrong here. You'll see later I fixed it, but I had it at 16 by 20, which is way too big. I actually needed it to be 11 by 14. Anyway, so then I'm going to go ahead and open up my two pictures. I've got the pelican, and I also need the lighthouse. So I'm going to find that and get them all in my photo bar at the bottom of the page. All right, so I want the pelican on top of the lighthouse, and I want it as big as that. I need to first get rid of everything around the pelican. So I take the magic eraser tool and I start erasing the background. I want to get rid of the second pelican because I don't want him. I only want the front pelican and the pole he's standing on. And sometimes the colors bleed together like this, so you have to kind of be careful with the magic eraser, because if the colors are too similar, it'll take everything of that out. So sometimes you have to go in and get your eraser brush, like I'm going to do here, and just start brushing off the extra stuff that you don't want. So I'm going to go through. You can change the size of it. If you've got like a giant area like this, you can get a giant brush and just start getting rid of all the extra. And so I'm just going to go through here and keep getting rid of all the extra stuff that I don't want. Now I've got to get farther down into those little details, so I'm going to have to make my brush smaller again. And I'm going to kind of get in there, and it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm just using this for an outline, and I want to kind of envision what the picture is going to look like when I finish. So I'm just going to get close. Again, and we're not going for complete perfection here, but it gives you an idea of what I do to make this picture. And if you go too far into it, or if you do something wrong, that undo button is great. You can just pull it back to the last place you were at. Okay, so now I'm going to take my lighthouse and I'm going to pull it onto my big sized blank file, and then I'm going to enlarge it so that it becomes that size. Fit it into my space. This is also really helpful if you just need to see how something's going to look on the size paper you're using. So I go ahead and fit my lighthouse into my space, and then I'm going to go back to my photo bin, and I'm going to pull the pelican up in here, and I'm going to make him the size I want him to be. You see, I want it like I'm looking across the water. Like he's up close, the lighthouse is far away, and I'm looking over the water at the lighthouse. That's my thought on this picture, at least. So I think about the placement. Do I want it like, I don't really want it center. I want it a little bit to the right of center to offset the lighthouse. I kind of think about how big I want the pelican to be and fiddle around with it a little bit. It's nice because you can sit and and think about your composition without messing up your paper. All right. And now if I wanted to go ahead and print this, then I would have to set the size, and I could print it in sections. Like I could print just the lighthouse, I could print the pelican, print whichever piece of it I need, and then I can tape my tape my papers together to make an outline that I can trace down off of. I'm realizing as I look at this that I made my original composition bigger than what I actually intended to make it. I should have made it 11 by 14 and I made it bigger than that, and so that's why it's not fitting. If I do an 11 by 14, then if I make it vertical, two pieces fit perfectly, because a normal piece of paper is 8.5 by 11, and so you can print up and down two and just tape them together in the middle and you're good to go. But yeah, I kind of messed that up on this particular one. But that's an easy fix. You just need to go back in and make a new document that's in the correct size, which I believe I'm going to do here in just a minute. So, making this the correct size, you see I'm going to make a new one, and I'm going to go back and go, yeah, I actually wanted that to be 11 by 14. Duh. And I'm going to open it, or it could be 12 by 16. That's the size of my paper. Either way, it's going to be really close. And I do the same thing. I'm just going to put the lighthouse on here. And then once I have it the right size, I'm going to go ahead and go back in the photo bin, pull the pelican over here because I already fixed him up and made him the right size. Come on, pelican. All right, put him over here. I'm going to make him the size I want him to be. I think he needs to be a little bigger, so I'm going to enlarge him a little bit. And then I start thinking, is that where I want him? Do I want him facing that direction? Maybe I want him facing the other direction. And I start thinking about, do I like how that looks? Is that what I wanted? And I'm pondering. I'm thinking, is that good? Do I like it? I have to think too hard sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, there's some stuff in here I want to fix. Or maybe I do want him facing the other way. So you can go in here and you can rotate rotate it horizontally, flip horizontal, I think is what it's called. Put it the other way. So now I can go back to my lighthouse and I can stick him on there and I can go, maybe I like him that direction better. Let's have a look. This is great because if I was painting this and I traced it one way, I can't just easily go back and flip it the other way. I want to see first if that's the way I like it. So I look at it and go, I don't know, that way? Or do I like him this way? I feel like it's too much like he's looking at the lighthouse there, and it's not really what I want. I think that way is probably the way I want to keep it. But this makes it really easy to flip back and forth and decide which one I really like. So I decide I like it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this one back horizontal, and then I'm going to delete the one that I have on here, and I'm going to pull the pelican over there, make him big. We've done this already a couple of times. Make him where I want him to be. Okay. Get him all lined up. Make sure I'm happy with him. as he is there. Then I'm going to go to print. And now since I made it the right size, I can print an 11 by 14 vertically like this. I can tell it to fill to the page, print in the size that I set it at. I go ahead, I hit print. Okay. And then once I've printed one, I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to print the other side of the picture, the right side of the picture. Same thing, I need it to be vertical, pull it to the right side. And what this should do for me is I should just be able to connect these two pictures in the middle where they meet. Usually I have to cut a little portion off of it, but I can connect them in the middle where they meet, and then I can use some graphite paper and I can trace that outline onto my graphite paper really easily. So this is just a pretty simple way of getting an outline and getting your composition for a picture, and I hope this helps. If you learned something, hit like and subscribe.